In this video we're looking at images and video shot on two separate occasions at Welney Wildfowl and Wetlands Reserve in Cambridgeshire. The camera and lens that I used was the OM1 in combination with the 150-400 f4.5. Because the pictures were taken over two separate days, there was markedly different lighting and conditions on each day. So in this video we're looking at photographing wildfowl on the ice. I'm at Welney Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust Reserve in Cambridgeshire, and I've come up early in the morning. The weather conditions that we've had over the last few days, it's the middle of December, have been really very cold indeed. This morning driving up, the car said the outside temperature was -5. You'll hear the noise from all the wildfowl, the swans and that sort of thing. What's happened is they've had an early morning feed today, and all the wildfowl are quite close in and having a good feed up. I managed to get in early. It doesn't normally open till 10 o'clock, the hides that they have here, but I got in early. And conditions today are quite challenging because there's a lot of fog about, light levels are very low, and that contrasts quite considerably with the pictures that I took on Thursday. I came up on Thursday with some friends from the camera club, and literally we had sort of wall-to-wall blue sky and sunshine all day. And although that gives a lot of contrast, it did give some beautiful lighting. So today's pictures are going to be markedly different. But what I'm actually in at the moment is the photographer's hide, which is a basement hide. The main hide above is where the bird watchers, they will be there. Down below there's like a concrete bunker with these openings that you can photograph out of, and you need to wrap up really warm. It gets very cold in here. As I say, it's the middle of December, and it really is quite, I've got thermals on and everything there. And there'll be quite a difference between the pictures I take today and the ones I took on Thursday. So what I'll do is I'll carry on taking some pictures and show you the pictures at the end of the video. So I'm going to start off showing images taken on the first day, the Thursday, when lighting and conditions were excellent. This is the view looking out of one of the openings in the photographer's hide. The concrete ledge on the hide openings are suitable to rest the lens on, but a lot of photographers in the hide do use tripods. Because I wanted to concentrate on both birds on the water and the ice, as well as flight shots, I only used a tripod for shooting video. All stills and flight shots were taken handheld. By resting the lens on the ledge of the opening of the hide, these shots of both male and female mallard are easy to take. Although mallards are very common birds, they are still very photogenic in the right lighting conditions. If mallards were rare birds, bird watchers or twitchers would be chasing them all over the country to tick them off their lists. Consequently, most twitchers and bird photographers tend to ignore them. The bright sun did produce some beautiful lighting on the plumage of the birds, and the blue sky reflecting onto both the water and the ice looked particularly attractive. The water directly in front of the hide had melted, but further out there was still thick ice. These two slow motion video clips show how sometimes the birds really struggle walking on the ice. The videos were shot on the OM1 with the camera on shutter priority, auto ISO and shutter speed set to 0.05 of a second, and the frame rate set at 240 FPS. The only problem when shooting slow motion video on the OM1 is that you have to manually focus, which is not easy with a moving subject. It was particularly comical watching birds flying in and landing on the ice. As they flapped their wings to slow themselves down, on landing, they would often end up sliding across the ice on their backsides. There were lots of birds in the water in front of the hide, and these two video clips of diving pochard and tufted duck were again shot in slow motion. Because these birds are quite close in, it was easy to get stills of pochard, tufted duck, coots, and widgeon. There is a low-level viewpoint at one end of the hide that you can photograph from, and this image was taken from that viewpoint. I particularly wanted to concentrate on some flight shots, and Welney is an excellent location for this. These are two shots of grey-leg geese in flight. This pair flew quite close to the hide, whereas the grouping was further out. This group of black-tailed godwits was coming into land on one of the further mudflats, but with the 400mm end of the 150-400, getting a shot like this was not a problem. For all these flight shots, I am using birds selected in the subject detection menu, all focusing points selected, and continual AF set on the focusing. I have found that providing that you have birds selected in the menu, continual AF works just as well, if not better, than using continual AF plus tracking. What a lot of photographers go to Welney for in the winter is the Hooper and Berwick swans. Because these are quite large birds, the autofocus on the OM1 locks on very easily, and flight shots like these are a doddle. Because the lighting was so good, I did not need to use a high ISO, and most shots were taken around about ISO 800. Although you may need 3200th of a second for small fast flying birds, you can get away by using a lot slower shutter speed for swans. These shots were all taken around about 1600th of a second. This shot was where the swan had landed on the ice and was using its wings to slow down. As we went back to the car park late in the afternoon, we were very fortunate to see a barn owl hunting over the reserve. After a couple of circuits of the meadow, it landed and flew off with some prey. Because the image stabilisation on the OM1 and the 150-400 is so good, I managed to get a series of shots. Even though these shots were taken at the 400mm end of the zoom and using the built-in 1.25 extender, they are still quite heavy crops because the barn owl was further away than we would have liked. So now I'm going to finish up showing images taken on the Sunday. Here the conditions and lighting were totally different. That morning there'd been a very sharp hoarfrost and there was also quite thick fog. This is the view looking out from the hide, and as you can see, conditions were different and quite difficult to say the least. Although the visitor centre and hides at the reserve do not normally open till 10 AM, I was lucky to be allowed in at 8:30. Welney occasionally runs a Swan Awake session at 6:30 AM. This is where you can see the swans being fed early in the morning, often at sunrise. Even if you are a Wildfowl Wetland Trust member, you do have to pay extra for this, but you do also get a cooked breakfast thrown in as well. You will need to look at the Welney Wildfowl and Wetland Trust website to see when this occurs. Fortunately for me, this happened that morning, and one of the wardens kindly let me in early, so I had the photographer's hide to myself for the first hour and a half. The light levels were so low that I did not really think I would get anything usable, but in the end, I was reasonably pleased with some of the images. The fog mist seemed to add a different atmosphere to the pictures and gave a complete contrast to the image taken in bright sunlight. With the birds having recently been fed, most birds were right in front of the hide, and with so many birds, getting a clear shot of an individual bird was quite a problem. I quite like this shot where the swan is biting the other one. With the heavy fog, you could not see out very far, and certainly getting shots of flying into land was out of the question. Having said that, I was quite pleased with this shot of two Hooper swans taking off in very misty conditions. I have processed this image separately as a high key shot and printed on Permajet's portrait white paper. It looks very attractive as a mounted A3 print. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you want to be notified of future uploads, then please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.